Wisteria, Energy, Twister. Hello everyone, welcome back to the Ghost Stories of Essex. This is what's called the Haunted Pub Crawl. However, they are only very short stories, so maybe I'll do a couple at a time or something. The first one, what happened to Spider? Not many ghosts have a fan club dedicated to them, but at the Bear Inn at Stock, the members of the elusive Spider Club get together once a year for a celebration in honour of Charlie Spider Marshall, who will never be forgotten at the ancient hostelry where he used to be the ostler at the turn of the century. A small man with a curious crab-like gait, Spider had no home or family and lived in the stables at the Bear, where for a free pint or a few coppers he could always be persuaded to perform his trick. Like a shot he would be off, scrambling up the chimney of the tap-room fireplace and reappearing, covered in soot, down the chimney of the bar parlour. Sometimes, just to add to the interest, Spider did not immediately reappear. Somewhere where the two chimneys joined was an area, probably a bacon loft, where Spider would hide himself, deaf to all entreaties, until the locals would light a bunch of straw and smoke him out. But Spider tried this trick once too often. One Christmas Eve he refused to budge. A few high-spirited customers set fire to a bunch of faggots to force him to come down, but even this didn't work. In fact, Spider never did come down at all, very likely suffocated up there. Apparently, when the bar was altered years later, the builders located a small chamber high up in the chimney, thought to be a bacon loft or priest's hole. But when they pushed a long pole in to test its depths, a huge crack did open up in the back of the chimney stack, in the centre of the building. Alarmed that part of the building might collapse, the crack was quickly cemented over, and there was no more attempts to investigate Spider's hidey hole. "If Spider's up there, he can stop there," said a local customer. "They always said the little chap mustn't be disturbed, or he would have his revenge. Even so, they say his ghost has been seen dodging about in his boots and his white breeches, a tiny figure with an unmistakable sidewalk. As James Wentworth Day once wrote, Spider has gone, but in many ways is still with us. The most enduring legend of the Inns of Essex, a spider is immortal." That's kind of sad, actually, because, they could have possibly killed him by smoking him. I mean, that's like murder, right? I'm sorry. I shouldn't say it, but that, to me, anyway. Not purposely, but, accidentally murdered him. That's what I think. The Martyr of Brentwood. In Brentwood, there is a memorial to the local Protestant martyr, 19-year-old William Hunter, a silk weaver's apprentice, burnt to death in 1555 for his religious beliefs. It bears the words, "He being dead yet speaketh," which is oddly apt as the ghost locally believed to be Hunter, although not actually vocal, has been a restless presence at the inn where he is said to have spent his last night. The Swan Hotel in the High Street was originally called the Argent and later the Gun, becoming the Swan in 1783. On the night before his death, Hunter had a prophetic dream in which he was given the chance to recant and save his life, but he refused. Events next morning were just as he had dreamed, and he was chained to the stake. He cried, "Son of God, shine on me," at which the sun shone out from a dark cloud, full on William's face, to the wonder of onlookers, and immediately the brushwood and faggots were lit, and he was lost to the view in the smoke and the flames. Since then, his ghost had frequently visited the Swan, One landlady described sudden drops in temperature and a sudden feeling of coldness, the presence of cold and chills, noises in the cellar. Furniture had been moved and lights switched on and off. And when the ghost is around, dogs react nervously, and one used to howl mournfully. Plates hanging on the walls have been thrown down, and police have been called when the outer doors have been found unlocked. And once a clock in an empty room started to strike, and went on striking until it was removed from the wall, although the striking mechanism had not been working for months. There has been the usual ghostly trickery with the beer taps, and things disappear, they reappear in odd places. Such poltergeist activity seems a strange manifestation for a ghost of such a high-minded young man as William Hunter must have been. Perhaps the inhabitants at the Swan have been mistaken all along, and their ghost is not William at all. But who would know? And he was a Catholic, and he was burnt for being a Catholic and not a Christian. Or he was a Christian and burnt for being a Catholic. I'm not sure. I'm not sure, actually. But it's one or the other, because he did believe in God and he did call out to the Son of God. So it won't have been for like witchery or anything like that. It could have probably been a Christian, and it was a Catholic area, because that did happen. Even when you were religious, it still happened. This one's called Trouble at the Angel Inn. There is nothing like building work and alterations to activate supernatural happenings. And as most new landlords like to make changes when they acquire a pub, frequently they find that they've also acquired a ghost. This happened in 1962, when Len Brookfield arrived at the Angel Inn in Braintree. Changing the inn sign may not seem too drastic, but Mr. Brookfield thought that instead of the more conventional picture of an angel, he would commemorate the day in the last war when the pub had a narrow escape from a Luftwaffe bomb. So the new sign showed an angel riding astride a bomb as he merrily knocked back a pint. This did not go down well at all with some locals, who said the angel was more like a witch, and it was all in very bad taste. And when it soon appeared that the pub was now haunted, people remembered that a former landlord's dying wish was that his beloved pub, it should never be altered. It looked as if his ghost had come back to express his disapproval. Mr. Brookfield had 3 large guard dogs, 2 boxers and a collie, who were well aware of the ghost and terrified. Night after night their howling would wake the landlord, who went down to find them, hair on end, shaking with fright. When the dogs wake me, I find that doors I've closed are open, bottles and glasses have been moved, and lights are switched on again, he said. Years later, a different landlord started to build an extension at the back, and one day a pile of plasterboard was leaning against the bar, and, with no one near it, it was suddenly crashed to the ground as if it had been pushed over. Another family who took over the Angel in the 1980s heard invisible people walking about and talking in the night, and once saw a shadowy figure come down the stairs, and the landlord's son once witnessed an ashtray flying off the bar by itself. However, after the inn sign was altered to show a proper angel, the paranormal activity quietened down. So perhaps that old landlord is happy now, or at least until someone else takes over the pub and decides to make a few changes. That's the first part of the pub crawl stories. We'll continue with the rest in the next part. Thank you for listening. Many blessings. Wisteria. Energy. Twister.